Leora had always believed that life on the colony of Sarath was predictable. Every day she walked through polished halls filled with aliens of every shape and size, each moving with purpose, each speaking in their melodic, clipped tones. The colony was a hub of diplomacy, trade, and culture, a place where advanced technology made even the most distant star feel close. And yet, amidst all this sophistication, something or someone stood out in the quietest way possible. It was the day Kale arrived. Humans were rare here. In fact, most aliens had never seen one up close. They were considered fragile, weak, and ill-suited for the challenges of the galaxy. Yet there he was, stepping onto the colony's landing platform with a calm that seemed unshakable. He carried nothing but a simple bag slung across his shoulder and a small sheathed blade at his side. Leora's first impression was simple curiosity. She had seen the reports about him, a human who had volunteered for interstellar relocation, but reports never captured the subtlety of presence. Kale's quiet nature did not announce itself loudly. It was in the way he observed everything around him, the way his eyes missed nothing, and the way he moved without disturbing even the tiniest pebble on the polished platform. The welcoming party had gathered, a sea of alien forms shimmering in the sunlight that cut across the platform. Some were tall and crystalline, refracting the light into dazzling patterns. Others were short, their skin like liquid metal, constantly shifting in color. All of them regarded the human with curiosity, whispers passing like wind through leaves. "Strange," Leora murmured to herself, leaning against the railing. "So quiet. But he doesn't seem afraid." Kale's gaze moved across the group, calm and unhurried. When his eyes met hers for a brief moment, there was no excitement, no fear, just awareness. Leora felt a shiver she could not explain. There was something in his quietness that carried weight, a presence that demanded attention without demanding it. During the formal introduction, Kale spoke little. His voice was soft, almost hesitant, but firm when he chose his words. He answered questions politely, never over-explaining, never boasting, and yet every word carried meaning and every action seemed deliberate. He nodded to everyone, offering respectful gestures according to alien custom, moving with a grace that belied the clumsiness most humans were rumored to have. Leora found herself drawn to him. There was no showiness, no need to impress. It was as if he had stepped out of the human world fully aware that he was considered insignificant in this galaxy. And yet, he radiated quiet confidence. She could not explain why, but she felt compelled to know him better. Over the next few weeks, Leora watched Kale adjust to life on Sarath. He took simple tasks seriously, learning the colony's customs with patience and focus. When others struggled with alien technology, he adapted quickly, finding solutions with surprising creativity. It was subtle at first, a repaired hover drone, a recalibrated energy shield, but enough to make Leora pause and watch him more closely. Despite his abilities, Kale never sought attention. In gatherings, he stood quietly at the edges, listening more than speaking. When he did speak, his words were considered and precise. He asked questions that others did not think to ask, revealing insights that left even the most advanced diplomats momentarily stunned. And always the small blade at his side remained sheathed, a silent companion rather than a threat. "Do you think he's dangerous?" whispered one diplomat to Leora, eyes narrowing in concern. "Dangerous?" Leora asked, tilting her head. "I don't think so. Not in the way you mean." The diplomat's lips pursed. "He's human." "That's dangerous enough." Leora laughed softly, shaking her head. "Humans are underestimated." "That is true, but Kale, he is more than that. There is something steady about him. I can't explain it yet." It was during a small celebration for new arrivals that she first saw him in a way that made her heart skip. Aliens danced, their movements like flowing liquid, bending and twisting in ways humans could never imitate. Kale did not join them. Instead, he stood in a corner watching. And then, without a word, he moved to help a small group of young aliens who had gotten tangled in decorations. His movements were careful, precise, almost elegant. No one else noticed the quiet strength in the way he lifted them gently yet firmly, untangling the mess in seconds. Leora watched from across the hall, captivated. Here was a human who did not need to shout or fight to make an impression. His actions spoke louder than any words could. And for the first time she felt a strange sense of admiration, and perhaps something deeper, something that felt like the start of a connection. Days turned into weeks, and Leora found herself seeking Kale's company. Conversations started simply, about daily routines or minor colony news, but gradually they talked about more personal things. Kyle spoke of Earth in quiet tones, describing oceans, forests, and cities in a way that made Leora feel she had never truly understood the human world before. There was a softness in his memories, a sense of wonder and respect for life that felt rare in the galaxy's harsher societies. One evening, as they walked along the colony's observation deck, looking at a binary star system in the distance, Leora finally asked the question that had been on her mind for weeks. "Kyle, why do you carry that blade?" she asked gently, nodding toward the small sheath at his side. Kale glanced at it briefly, then back at the stars. "It's not for show," he said quietly. "It is part of who I am. A human learns to carry what they need to survive, even if they hope never to use it." Leora felt a shiver run down her spine. There was no threat in his words, yet a weight lingered in them, a hidden depth she could not fully understand. "You seem capable," she said carefully. "More capable than anyone gives humans credit for." He smiled faintly, almost shyly. "Perhaps, but humans are quiet for a reason. We adapt, we endure, and when the time comes, we act." The observation deck was silent except for the gentle hum of the colony's energy fields. Leora realized that Kale's quietness was not weakness. It was patience, awareness, and control, a calm surface concealing a depth she could barely fathom. As days passed, Leora found herself thinking of him constantly. She noticed the way he observed details others missed, how he anticipated minor problems before they arose, and the calm way he responded to unexpected events. His presence was like a steady anchor in the chaotic lives of the colony's residents. Then came the first real test, not of combat, but of his patience and courage. A minor accident occurred in the colony's power plant. A containment field flickered dangerously, threatening to explode. Aliens panicked, scrambling to fix the problem with frantic energy. Leora froze, unsure of what to do. Kale moved without hesitation. He assessed the situation calmly, then acted with precision. In moments, he stabilized the field using both human intuition and a careful understanding of alien technology. No one else could have reacted with such efficiency. Leora watched amazed. The whispers that followed his actions confirmed what she had begun to realize. Humans, underestimated as they were, carried potential that could rival any advanced species. That night, as the stars shone bright above the colony, Leora stood on the balcony, thinking of Kale. Quiet, calm, strong, capable. She realized she had found someone extraordinary, someone whose value was hidden beneath silence and humility, and in that moment she made a decision that would change both their lives. "I will marry him," she whispered to herself, feeling a strange thrill. Quiet as he is more remarkable than anyone here can imagine. Little did she know, that quiet human, with his sheathed blade and calm demeanor, was about to show her a depth of courage and skill that would forever change her understanding of strength, of humanity, and of what it truly meant to survive in the galaxy. And so, the quiet human Kale became part of Leora's life, not as a curiosity, not as a spectacle, but as a partner whose true power and resilience were only beginning to reveal themselves. The story of quiet strength had begun, and the galaxy would soon take notice. Life on Sarath seemed to flow like a calm river, but peace, Leora knew, was always fragile. The colony thrived on trade and diplomacy, but tensions simmered at its edges. The news of a nearby warband of raiders reached the council just as the sun rose over Sarath's twin suns. Panic stirred among the citizens. Reports spoke of a group known for overwhelming force and unpredictable attacks. They were rumored to leave nothing behind, taking everything of value and destroying those who resisted. Leora felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced at Kale, who sat quietly at her side in the council chamber. While everyone else argued and debated, Kale remained calm. His dark eyes scanned the incoming messages, but his expression never wavered. He did not panic. He did not fidget. He simply observed. "Do you think we can stop them?" one counselor asked nervously. Kale looked up. "We can survive if we prepare carefully," he said quietly. "Panic is their advantage. Calm is ours." The room fell silent. Leora felt a strange admiration for his calm tone. Even in the face of danger, Kale's voice carried no fear, only certainty. Within hours, the colony prepared for the worst. Defensive barriers were raised, energy fields reinforced, and patrols increased. Leora noticed Kale moving among the workers and soldiers, offering advice with quiet authority. He did not shout commands. He did not demand obedience. Yet every alien who listened to him acted with purpose. When the first attack came, it was sudden. The sky darkened as sleek black raider ships descended. Their engines hummed like low thunder, and their weapons glinted ominously. Civilians screamed, scattering toward shelters. Alarms blared, echoing through the colony's halls. Leora froze, her heart pounding. She had expected panic, but what she did not expect was Kale's calm. He stepped forward, his hand resting lightly on the sheath at his side. For a moment she wondered if he would panic or freeze. But no, he moved with precision, assessing the situation like a chess master studying the board before the first move. "Stay behind me," he said softly, almost to himself, but Leora felt the words as if directed at her. She watched as Kale moved through the chaos. Raiders landed, their weapons drawn, cutting down drones and soldiers in their path. Kale was everywhere at once, or so it seemed. In one fluid motion, he disarmed a raider who had aimed a weapon at a young alien child. In another, he used a simple sweep of his blade to deflect a stray energy blast, the force shattering a nearby wall but leaving him unharmed. Leora gasped. She had never seen a human move like this. Others tried to fight back with brute force, but Kale relied on precision and timing. Every strike, every block, every step was intentional. He did not rely on strength alone. He relied on understanding, anticipation, and instinct. Some aliens began to whisper, their fear mixed with astonishment. He is only human," one said, eyes wide. "How can one human do this?" Leora's heart swelled with pride and shock. She had always known Kale was special, but witnessing his skill in action made her realize how underestimated humans truly were. His quiet strength was not just physical, it was mental, tactical, and unyielding. Amid the chaos, Kyle spotted a group of raiders trying to sabotage the colony's main energy core. He did not hesitate. With lightning speed, he dashed toward them, moving through debris and energy discharges like water flowing around rocks. In seconds, he neutralized the threat, disarming the raiders and stabilizing the core. The crowd stared in awe. Aliens who had once doubted humanity's worth now whispered in reverence. Leora watched Kale, her eyes filling with tears, not of fear but of admiration. This quiet human, whom everyone had underestimated, had become the colony's unexpected protector. But the battle was not over. Raiders continued to pour in from the skies, their ships hovering like predatory birds. Kale's movements grew faster, more precise. He worked in perfect synchronization with the colony's defenses, guiding drones, soldiers, and civilians alike. He did not seek glory or recognition. Every action was calculated to protect, to survive, and to win. At one point, a raider lunged at Leora with a bladed weapon. She froze, terrified, unable to move. Before she could scream, Kale appeared, his blade a silver flash in the sunlight. He disarmed the raider with a swift, controlled strike, sending the weapon spinning into the air. The raider fell, stunned but alive. Leora's heart raced, and she realized that Kale never aimed to kill unnecessarily. Every move was measured, controlled, and precise. The humans among the colony, inspired by Kale's calm bravery, began to act. They organized groups, built barricades, and used their ingenuity to create traps. Kale guided them without words, a silent conductor orchestrating a complex symphony of survival. Leora noticed the alien soldiers watching him closely, learning from his quiet leadership. For the first time, many realized that humans were not weak. They were clever, adaptable, and fearless when needed. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Slowly, the tide of battle shifted. The raiders, expecting chaos and panic, were met with strategy and discipline. Each move Kyle made seemed to anticipate their next step. They tried to outflank him, but he was always a step ahead, using the terrain, the colony's defenses, and his keen instincts to counter every attack. Finally, as the last raider ship attempted to escape, Kale acted decisively. With a combination of precise blade work and quick thinking, he disabled the ship's engines, forcing it to land safely, but contained, outside the colony. The remaining invaders surrendered, stunned by the humans' resilience and Kale's leadership. The colony erupted in cheers, but Kale did not celebrate. He simply sheathed his blade, wiped a bit of dust from his clothing, and turned to Leora. She ran to him, her hands trembling as she touched his arm. You were amazing," she whispered, still catching her breath. "I didn't know humans could—" He smiled faintly, brushing her hand with his own. "We can adapt," he said quietly. "We endure. And when the time comes, we act." Leora felt a surge of admiration she had never known before. She realized that humans, often underestimated, carried a strength beyond appearances, a strength of mind, spirit, and courage. Kale had shown her that quietness was not weakness and calm was not fear. It was power-controlled, focused, and wise. Later, in the council chamber, Kale was praised for his actions, but he remained humble. He credited the colony's defenses, the humans who had helped, and even the aliens who had adapted quickly. Leora watched him, her heart swelling with respect and love. She had married a quiet human, and in a single day she had witnessed a depth of skill and courage that no one could ignore. That night, Sarath seemed peaceful again. Stars glittered above, and the colony was safe. Yet Leora knew this was only the beginning. She had glimpsed the potential of humanity through Kale's actions, and she understood that the galaxy underestimated humans at their peril. Kale stood quietly on the balcony, looking at the stars. Leora joined him, resting her hand on his arm. "You didn't have to prove anything," she said softly. "But I see now. You're extraordinary." He shook his head gently. "I only acted as needed. But you will see more, I think. Humans have a way of rising when others least expect it." Leora leaned against him, feeling the warmth of his presence. The quiet human beside her, with his sheathed blade and calm strength, had changed everything she thought she knew about courage, skill, and resilience. And somewhere deep inside, she realized that the galaxy would soon learn what she had learned today. Never underestimate a human. After the raid, life on Sarath returned to a fragile calm. The colony was alive with activity, but whispers followed Kale wherever he went. Aliens who had once doubted humans now watched him with a mixture of respect and curiosity. Leora, however, could not stop thinking about what she had witnessed. She had married Kale knowing him as quiet, calm, and capable. But now, after seeing him in battle, she realized she barely knew the depth of his abilities. Questions burned in her mind, and she could no longer ignore them. One evening, as the twin suns dipped behind the horizon, painting the sky with shades of violet and gold, Leora found Kale in the colony's training yard. He was quietly practicing movements with his blade, every strike precise, every motion deliberate. The soft hum of energy fields filled the air. His concentration was absolute, yet there was a calm grace in his actions. "Kyle," she called softly, stepping closer. "I need to know. Who are you, really?" He paused mid-strike, turning to face her. His dark eyes met hers with an intensity that made her heart skip a beat. He sheathed the blade and walked toward her, his movement slow, deliberate, as if every step had meaning. "You've seen what I can do," he said quietly, "but you don't know why I can do it." Leora waited, her curiosity mixed with nervous anticipation. Kale took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice calm but carrying weight. "I was trained on Earth long before I came here. Humans, we are not as fragile as most of the galaxy believes. Many think we rely on technology to survive. But the truth is, humans endure because of our minds, our instincts, and our training." He led her to a quiet corner of the yard, away from prying eyes. "I was part of a human warrior order," he continued. "We are trained to survive impossible odds, to protect our people, and to act when others cannot. We combine instinct, strategy, and adaptability. Our strength is not always visible, but it is there, hidden until needed." Leora listened, captivated. She had known humans were underestimated, but she had never imagined they had such a structured, disciplined approach to survival. Kale's calm demeanor, his precision, and his skill in battle were not random. They were the result of years of training, discipline, and understanding of human and universal combat techniques. "Why didn't you tell me?" Leora asked softly, a mixture of awe and concern in her voice. Kyle smiled faintly. "I didn't want to alarm you. Most aliens underestimate humans, and for good reason. They do not understand our ways. I did not want to appear boastful or dangerous. I wanted you to see me as I am, not as my training makes me appear." Leora reached for his hand. "But now I understand. You're extraordinary. And more than that, humans are underestimated everywhere. Kale's eyes softened. Exactly. The galaxy sees humans as small, weak, or fragile. But we endure, we adapt, and when the time comes, we act. The conversation left Leora with a new understanding of Kale, but also a growing sense of unease. If humans were capable of this kind of skill, how many more of them might exist quietly living among the stars, unseen and underestimated? She realized that the galaxy had no idea what humans could do, and that realization was both thrilling and frightening. The following days brought further proof of Kale's capabilities. Small incidents, ship malfunctions, sudden equipment failures, or minor security breaches occurred throughout the colony. Each time, Kale responded with calm efficiency, resolving problems that left the colony's best engineers baffled. His methods were not always conventional, but they worked. One afternoon, Leora watched him guide a group of young humans in repairing a damaged energy drone. The children, inspired by Kale's calm authority, worked with focus and determination. He never shouted or demanded obedience. He taught by example, moving among them, correcting mistakes gently and showing them the proper way to act under pressure. Leora realized that humans had the ability to lead quietly, to inspire without words, and to act decisively when needed. That evening, as they walked through the observation deck, Leora asked Kale another question she had long wondered about. If humans are so capable, why do you hide it? Why do you not show your full strength to the galaxy? Kale's gaze lingered on the stars. Because strength alone is not enough. The galaxy rewards those who show power loudly, but power without wisdom can destroy everything. Humans survive not by being the strongest, but by being careful, clever, and patient. We act only when necessary. That is our way. Leora nodded, slowly understanding. She had seen it in the raid. The patience, the calculation, the timing. Kale had never acted recklessly. Every move had a purpose, every strike had meaning. It was not brute force that had saved the colony. It was strategy, precision, and calm intelligence. Over the next few weeks, Leora observed Kale in new ways. She noticed how he analyzed situations, how he predicted potential dangers, and how he guided others without ever appearing to dominate them. His quiet demeanor hid a mind that moved faster than most, a mind trained to survive and protect. One day, a group of alien traders arrived with news of a distant conflict. Their colony had been attacked by a powerful enemy, and they sought assistance from Serath. Leora immediately thought of Kale. If humans were underestimated, then perhaps his skills could be of value beyond this colony. Kale listened to the trader's story without interrupting. When they finished, he spoke quietly but firmly. "The situation is dangerous," he said, "but with careful planning it can be managed. Rushing into battle without understanding the enemy will only lead to unnecessary losses. Patience and strategy are our allies." The traders exchanged glances, impressed by the calm certainty in his voice. Leora, standing beside him, felt pride swell in her chest. She had married a quiet human, and he was already teaching the galaxy an important lesson. Do not underestimate what you cannot understand. As night fell over Serath, Leora and Kale stood together on the balcony, looking out at the stars. The quiet human beside her had shown her strength, courage, and wisdom beyond what most species could imagine. She felt a deep respect and a growing love for him, knowing that there was far more to him than anyone could see. "Kyle," she said softly, "the galaxy doesn't know what humans are capable of, but I do, and now so do I." He looked at her, a faint smile touching his lips. "And that is all that matters for now. Humans will rise when the time is right. Until then, we endure and we prepare." Leora nodded, understanding the depth of his words. She realized that the quiet human she had married was not only extraordinary, but also a symbol of humanity's hidden potential, a potential that could change the galaxy in ways most species could never imagine. In the days that followed, Kale began quietly training other humans and willing aliens in the colony. He taught them patience, strategy, and observation. Small groups formed, learning to work together under his guidance. Leora watched in awe as the quiet human she had chosen became a teacher, a leader, and a protector, all without demanding recognition. The colony began to change. The humans once underestimated began to show small glimpses of their capability. Aliens who had doubted them now looked at them with respect, and Leora realized that Kale's quiet strength was not only a personal trait, it was a force that could inspire, guide, and transform. But even as she admired him, a question lingered in her mind. If one quiet human could achieve so much, what would happen when the galaxy truly realized what humans were capable of? The thought was both exciting and frightening. But she knew one thing for certain. With Kale by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. And somewhere deep inside, she sensed that the quiet human she had married would soon reveal even more of his hidden depth. A depth that would test the galaxy's assumptions, challenge its expectations, and show that humans were far stronger than anyone had ever imagined. Life on Sarath had grown tense in the weeks following Kale's revelation. The colony had recovered from the first raid, but whispers of a greater threat had reached their ears. A formidable alien empire, known for crushing entire star systems without mercy, was moving toward Sarath. Their ships were vast, armed with weapons far stronger than anything the colony had faced before. Fear rippled through the city. Leora felt the weight of the news pressing down on her. The council scrambled to devise defenses, but advanced planning alone could not prepare them for the scale of the attack. Aliens argued, debated, and panicked, but Kale remained calm. He did not flinch at the reports. He did not argue. He simply studied the situation, observing every detail, calculating every possibility. "This is not just about strength," Kyle said quietly, addressing Leora as they walked through the command center. "They are powerful, yes. But no matter how strong the enemy is, we have advantages they may not expect. Intelligence, adaptability, and courage can change the outcome." Leora watched him, heart pounding. She had learned to trust his judgment, but the reality of facing such a vast force made even her doubt herself. The first ships appeared on the horizon before sunrise, massive silhouettes against the twin suns. Panic swept the colony. Citizens scrambled to shelters while alarms screamed across the city. Kale stood at the front of the command center, observing the approaching fleet. His blade remained sheathed, yet it was always at his side, a silent reminder of readiness. "Listen carefully," Kyle said to the gathered humans and willing aliens. "We are outnumbered and outgunned, but we are not helpless. We will use the colony's terrain, our knowledge, and our strategy. Every move must be deliberate. Every action must count." The attackers landed, their ships disgorging squads of heavily armed soldiers. They expected chaos, fear, and disorganization, but instead they were met with calculated resistance. Kyle moved among the defenders, guiding their actions without shouting or raising his voice. His presence alone brought focus and confidence. Leora watched as he led small groups of humans and aliens in guerrilla-style defenses. They set traps along narrow corridors, used the colony's technology to create barriers, and anticipated the invaders' movements before they happened. Kyle moved like a shadow, appearing where he was most needed, neutralizing threats with precision and efficiency. A group of raiders attempted to breach the energy core, a critical point for the colony's survival. Leora froze, fear tightening her chest. Kale was already moving, his blade flashing in the dim light as he disarmed attackers and redirected energy surges. His movements were precise and controlled, each strike calculated to stop the enemy without unnecessary harm. The humans followed his example, inspired by his calm bravery. Small squads formed, moving with discipline and intelligence, setting ambushes and traps that slowed the enemy. Aliens who had once dismissed humans now watched in awe, learning from the quiet human who seemed to anticipate every move. Kyle's strategy combined patience and aggression. He waited for the enemy to make mistakes, then struck decisively. Raiders who had expected panic were instead met with coordinated defense, clever tactics, and unexpected counterattacks. Leora saw humans working together with aliens in ways that no one had thought possible, creating a unity that amplified their strength. At one critical moment, a massive raider mech charged down the main corridor, its energy weapons blazing. Soldiers scattered, unsure how to stop it. Kale stepped forward, assessing the threat with calm precision. He waited for the perfect moment, then used the environment to his advantage. With a swift combination of blade strikes and controlled energy blasts, he disabled the mech's core, sending it crashing to the ground. The attackers faltered, stunned by the human's ingenuity. Leora's pride and admiration grew with each passing moment. She realized that Kale's true strength lay not just in his combat skill, but in his ability to inspire others. Humans who had been timid now acted with courage, Aliens who had doubted them now followed their lead. And all of it stemmed from the quiet human who had chosen to act with intelligence and purpose, rather than reckless force. Hours passed, and the battle raged. The alien empire unleashed wave after wave of attackers, each more determined than the last. Kale moved tirelessly, guiding defenders, rescuing trapped civilians, and countering threats with unshakable calm. His blade flashed only when necessary, a precise tool rather than a weapon of glory. Leora followed him, helping where she could, but mostly watching in awe. Every time she thought the enemy might overwhelm them, Kale's strategies turned the tide. Every human and alien who had doubted themselves found courage, skill, and creativity they did not know they possessed. By the time the last wave of raiders approached the colony gates, the attackers were exhausted, disorganized, and demoralized. Kale led a final coordinated strike, combining humans and aliens in a sweeping maneuver that forced the enemy to retreat. Their ships took off, leaving the colony behind, stunned and battered but alive. The city erupted in cheers. Leora felt tears of relief and pride streaming down her face. She ran to Kale, embracing him tightly. You saved us," she whispered, still catching her breath. Kyle smiled faintly, brushing her hair back. "We saved ourselves," he said. "The humans, the aliens, everyone who followed their instincts and worked together. I only guided them." Leora looked at him, realizing the truth in his words. It was not Kale alone who had won the battle. It was the unity, courage, and adaptability of the colony, inspired by a quiet human who had shown them what they were capable of. The council later praised Kale and the humans for their bravery and leadership, but Kale remained humble. He credited every person who had acted with intelligence and courage, refusing to claim sole responsibility. Leora realized that humility was another part of his strength, a quiet force that allowed him to lead without arrogance. That night, as Sarath's twin moons rose over the city, Leora and Kale stood together on the observation deck. The battle had ended, but its lessons lingered. The colony had survived not because of superior weapons or overwhelming power, but because of strategy, unity, and courage, the qualities that humans, underestimated for so long, had displayed in abundance. "You were incredible today," Leora said softly. "The way you led, the way you fought. It was like watching a master at work." Kale shook his head. "I am only human," he said quietly. "We endure, we adapt, and we act when necessary. The galaxy underestimates us because they do not understand patience, intelligence, or resilience. But that is their mistake." Leora smiled, leaning against him. "One day the galaxy will understand, and they will see humans as you truly are, capable, brave, and extraordinary." Kale's eyes softened, reflecting the light of the twin moons. "Perhaps. But for now we prepare for what comes next. The galaxy is vast and challenges will always arise. Humans do not need recognition. They only need purpose." Leora held his hand. Feeling the calm strength that had carried them through the battle, she realized that the quiet human she had married was not just a protector or a warrior. He was a symbol of humanity's hidden potential, a reminder that strength did not always roar. It could be quiet, steady, and unstoppable. As the colony celebrated its survival, Leora knew that this victory was only the beginning. The humans of Sarath had proven their worth, and Kale had shown that the galaxy underestimated them at its own risk. The quiet human she had married was not just extraordinary. He was a force that could inspire, protect, and lead. And she knew that when the next challenge came, humanity would rise again, stronger and wiser than anyone could imagine. That night, Sarath slept under the watchful eyes of its defenders. Kale remained alert, quietly training and planning, preparing for whatever threats the galaxy might send next. Leora watched him, pride and love filling her heart. She had married a quiet human, and now she understood the true power hidden within him, a power that could change the course of the galaxy. And somewhere deep in her soul, she realized that Kale's calm strength, patience, and courage were only the beginning. The galaxy had yet to see what humans were truly capable of, and when that day came, it would never underestimate them again. The galaxy was quiet for a moment, almost as if it were catching its breath. Sarath had survived the attack of the alien empire, and the colony was recovering. Buildings were repaired, energy fields reinforced, and citizens slowly returned to their routines. But peace was fragile, and Leora knew it. She had seen Kale in action, witnessed the quiet human strength that could turn despair into hope. and understood that the galaxy underestimated humans at its own risk. Kale, as always, remained calm. He walked through the streets of the colony, observing the repairs, guiding humans and aliens alike with quiet efficiency. His blade remained sheathed, always at his side, a reminder of readiness rather than a threat. Children followed him at a safe distance, mimicking his movements and learning patience and precision. The aliens who had once doubted humans now watched him with awe, their respect visible in every glance. Leora joined him on the observation deck at sunset. The twin suns painted the sky in gold and violet, and she felt a wave of relief mixed with admiration. "You've done so much," she said softly. "The colony owes its survival to you, Kale. I don't even know how to express it." Kale shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "I did not act alone. Every human, every alien who followed reason and courage played their part. I only guided them. Humans do not seek glory. We act when necessary, and we endure. That is our strength." Leora looked at him, her heart full of pride. "But you're more than that. You inspired them. You showed them what humans are capable of. You changed how they see us." Kale's gaze turned to the stars, quiet and thoughtful. "Perhaps. But the galaxy has long underestimated humans. That will not change overnight. What matters is that those who followed us today learned something important. That strength is not only measured in size or technology, but in courage, intelligence, and patience." In the days that followed, the colony began to reorganize. Kale trained humans in strategy and survival, teaching them to act as a unified force rather than scattered individuals. Aliens began to learn from him as well, adapting human methods to their own skills. Leora watched the transformation, amazed at how quietly a single human could inspire such change. Then came the official recognition. The Colony Council, impressed by the humans' courage and Kale's leadership, invited representatives from surrounding systems. Ambassadors, military leaders, and scholars arrived to witness the humans' capabilities firsthand. They expected perhaps some courage, maybe minor skill, but they were not prepared for what they saw. Kale led demonstrations, showing humans and willing aliens working together to simulate combat scenarios, problem-solving under pressure, and adapting to unexpected challenges. Every move was precise, every strategy well thought out. Observers were stunned. The quiet humans, often dismissed as fragile, displayed intelligence, coordination, and courage that rivaled the most advanced species. Leora noticed the awe on their faces. Some tried to hide it, some openly admired, but all were forced to reconsider their assumptions. Kale never boasted. He allowed the humans' actions to speak for themselves, and the message was clear. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. Late one night after the demonstrations, Leora and Kale walked through the quiet streets. The colony was calm, the stars reflecting in the polished surfaces of buildings. She reached for his hand, feeling the steady strength within him. "Kale," she said softly, "do you realize what you've done? You've changed everything. The galaxy will never underestimate humans again." He shook his head, modest but firm. "Perhaps. But it is not the galaxy that matters most. It is the humans who understand their own strength, the ones who have learned to endure and act wisely. That is what will change everything in the long run." She looked at him, admiration shining in her eyes. "And you are extraordinary. Quiet, patient, wise, and stronger than anyone imagined," Kale smiled faintly. "Strength alone is not enough. Humans survive because we endure, adapt, and act when necessary. That is what makes us formidable. The galaxy may not understand yet, but humans will prove themselves again and again." As they walked, a group of young humans and aliens approached, practicing maneuvers and strategy under Kale's earlier guidance. Leora watched their determination and focus, realizing that Kale's influence had planted the seeds of lasting change. These children would grow knowing courage, intelligence, and patience, not fear or pride, were the true measures of strength. The next morning, Kyle led a council meeting with representatives from neighboring colonies. Plans were discussed for cooperative defense, shared knowledge, and coordinated strategies in case of future threats. Aliens listened carefully, noting Kale's calm authority and the humans' ability to think clearly under pressure. It became obvious that the quiet humans, guided by one extraordinary individual, had created a network of resilience and intelligence that no enemy could easily overcome. Leora, observing from the side, felt a deep sense of pride and love. She had married a quiet human, thinking him ordinary, But now she understood that Kale's true power was hidden beneath calm, humility, and patience. It was a power that inspired others, transformed communities, and challenged the galaxy's assumptions about humanity. Weeks later, the colony received reports of distant conflicts where humans were quietly making a difference. Traders, explorers, and even military advisors spoke of humans showing remarkable courage, clever tactics, and resilience. Kale's example had set a standard. Humans, once underestimated, were now respected, not for sheer force, but for intelligence, adaptability, and courage. One evening, Leora and Kale stood once more on the observation deck, looking at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, filled with challenges, dangers, and unknown possibilities. "You know," Leora said softly, leaning against him, "I think this is just the beginning. Humanity has so much potential, and now the galaxy will finally see it." Kale nodded, his eyes calm and thoughtful. "Yes, but we do not act for recognition. We act because it is necessary, because it is our duty, and because we endure. The galaxy may learn to respect us, but humans will continue to grow whether it notices or not." Leora smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And I will be right here watching and learning from you. You've shown me that quiet strength can be more powerful than any weapon, and patience more valuable than any army." Kale's hand brushed gently over hers. "And you've learned what many never understand, that humans survive not because they are the strongest in appearance, but because we endure, adapt, and act when needed. That is the true power of our species." The twin moons rose, casting silver light across the city. The humans of Sarath, inspired and guided by Kale, continued their training and preparation. Aliens who had once doubted them now worked alongside them in mutual respect and understanding. And Leora realized that this quiet human with his sheathed blade and calm presence had not only protected the colony but also transformed perceptions across the galaxy. In the coming days, humans quietly spread their influence, teaching resilience, strategy, and intelligence to those willing to learn. Kale remained at the center, not seeking glory but quietly guiding, protecting, and inspiring. Leora watched him with awe, knowing that the galaxy had barely glimpsed the true potential of humanity. And somewhere deep in her heart, she understood that the quiet human she had married was not just extraordinary. He was a symbol of everything humans could be. The galaxy would learn it soon enough. For now, peace returned to Sarath. But Leora knew that challenges would come again, and when they did, humanity, guided by Kale's quiet strength and wisdom, would rise. They would endure, adapt, and act, showing the galaxy the true power of a species it had long underestimated. As she held his hand and looked at the stars, Leora whispered, "Thank you for showing me. For showing all of us what humans can truly be." Kyle's smile was calm, quiet, but filled with resolve. "We endure," he said. "We adapt. And when the time comes, we act. That is who we are." The story of the quiet human who had changed a colony, inspired a species, and challenged the galaxy's assumptions had reached its climax. And as the stars twinkled above Sarath, one truth shone brighter than any sun. Humanity, underestimated and quiet, had revealed its strength, and the galaxy would never forget it.